Here on the utility tower, you see the large dish up there. That's about a 5-6 foot dish that's modified and used for our 2.4 gigahertz internet service. The tower's about 13 miles away down at Jed, Oklahoma. So we had to have a little increased gain to make the distance. So it's very important to have internet service here at a multi-op contest station. Down below that's a homebrew helix antenna that's used for our cellular telephone service. We have a cellular repeater within the building. Without it, service is pretty poor, but with that antenna and the repeater system allows us, the multi-ops, to use their cell phones within the building and immediately around the building area.
So in other words, you'd say this tower is a necessity for the successful support operations of the station?
Definitely, definitely it's important to have internet and cell phone service. We're out here in the middle of nowhere, so cell phone service lets us keep in touch with the families back home when we're up here for 3 or 4 days at a time on a contest weekend. Okay, here we are in the kitchen and dining area, the KB0HH bunkhouse. As you can see here at the Great Salt Plains Amateur Radio Club feast, we just had lots of food. During a typical contest weekend, we might have anywhere from 4 to 7, 8 ops here and rovers in and out during the weekend. Our head chef is KB0HH. He's quite the cook and always feeds his contest ops like kings throughout the weekend. Gain a few pounds every time I come up here for a contest.
So in other words, you have suffered some adverse effects of coming during the contest.
Oh yeah, it's hard to keep contesting after having a big meal. You're ready to take a nap, but you got to keep going during the contest. But we have a great time up here, good camaraderie with all the operators, and always a good meal.
And this is the leftovers from today's buffet that was served to us earlier.
Yeah, we had some roasted pork that was smoked right here by KB0HH, and he's famous for his hog roast, and he's pretty good at cooking ribs and pork tenderloin and beef short ribs and ribeye steak. So we eat like kings, and nobody's ever complained about the food around here. It's an important part of the contest weekend. Okay, here we go. We're going to take a quick tour of the radio room here at KB0HH. The room's basically 12 by 24. As you walk in the doorway here on the east wall is a 6-meter station. It's got the dual maps, which are linked together and have mechanical linkage out to the rotating towers. The needle points right to the city or grid square that you're working, so they're very easy to aim. We use the Kenwood 570G on 6 meters. Down here on the lower left is the 6-meter amp, has a Russian GS35 tube and is capable of legal limit power output. Over here on the left is multiple HF stations. We have a station for each of the HF bands. We do a little bit of HF work and contesting here from time to time, but primarily a VHF, UHF microwave station. Here at the 2-meter station now, we use the ICOM 746 Pro most of the time here on 2 meters. Just to the left there's Gary's homebrew 2-meter amp he built in the late 80s when he was doing moon bounce. Has an 8877 tube and is capable of legal limit, and we use that quite regular during contest weekends or during band openings when we need it.
Who's this young man sitting by the controls right now?
This is TJ, KE5OCY, who lives down at Jed, Oklahoma, just south of here, about 15 miles, and he's a member of the Palm Creek Hunter High School Amateur Radio Club and is probably the youngest regular contester on our team that comes up and helps us out on contest weekends.
How old are you, TJ?
I'll be 15 in November.
And how long have you been a ham radio operator?
Oh, probably about 2 years.
And what's the best thing you like about coming to the bunkhouse?
Oh, I like meeting the guys, trying to put a face with the voice. And I like working a lot of weak signal 2-meter. And
did you ever work anybody off the back of your beam?
yeah, I did on 222 megahertz. I hit Denver, Colorado on the back of the beam and had a little convo with him for a little bit.
Okay, the next operating position is our 222 position. In addition to the 6-meter position, 2-meter position, the 222 and 432 position, each has its own computer for logging. We use the N3FJP software for logging during the contest. It's very simple and easy to learn by the operators, and it works good for us. On 222, we use the Yaesu FT736R. It also has the 1296 module in it. Use it for backup from time to time. Currently running just a Mirage 120-watt amp. Just to the right of it is a new homebrew amp that Gary's working on, should have up for the next contest. It was built by Tommy, WD5AGO. It's got a 3CX800 in it and should be capable of a maximum of 750 watts output. Just below it's the 432 radio. It's an ICOM 475H. Works good for us. Has its own computer terminal just to the right there. Down underneath the cabinet here, you have to pull the chair back so you can see that's our 432 amp. We're kind of short on cabinet space around here, so we've got the big amps in the floor. That's a homebrew design built by KB0HH. Has the 3CX 800 tube in it. Max capability about 750 watts on 432. Generally we operate around 500 watts, and all weekend it runs without any problems. Here we're looking at the microwave station. We've got individual IF radios for 902 with a demi transverter. It's got a Motorola surplus amp, 28 volt amp that puts out about 250 watts. ICOM 1271 on 1296 megahertz, along with a homebrew amp there on the top shelf to the right. Gary built this amp back in the late 80s. He's done moon bounce with it. It's got the 2C39 tubes in it, a pair of them. Air cooled will do about 150 watts. When it's rigged for water cooling for EME use, they can get about 250 watts out of it. Just below that amp is an ICOM 251A that's used for an IF radio for the 2304, also a demi transverter, and a Spectarian 60 watt amp in a homebrew case and heatsink there, and that goes to the 2-foot dish on 2304, which we hope to. Right now it is. Eventually Gary wants to get up to 10 gigahertz. There's not a lot of microwave activity in this part of the country, so most of our contacts are long distance, so you need a little help from the propagation gods and a little bit of luck, but we just have a few rovers that have those capabilities and work locally.
I noticed you're using atomic clocks here in the shack.
Yeah, the atomic clock's very important for microwave operators and EME and meteor scatter guys. Lots of times on microwave bands we like to run a 10-minute transmit receive cycle where we'll transmit on the even and the other guy listens on the even and then transmits on the odd while we listen, so we know who's transmitting, who's receiving, and gives you opportunity to chase each other down in frequency and move your antennas around until you find each other and get lined up. Sometimes it takes several minutes, but it greatly increases your odds of a successful QSO.